A few years ago, my husband passed away suddenly due to an illness, and now I live alone. I have 2 children, both married and living apart from me. My son has his own family overseas, so I rarely see him, and I don't get to see my daughter much since she got married. I occasionally call my children, but I've been somewhat worried about my daughter. She always sounds lifeless, and I wondered if she was being mistreated at her in-laws' place. Since getting married, my daughter has been living with her husband's parents. I've never been mistreated by my in-laws myself, but I have friends who have, so I am concerned. Hello, Sarah. Are you okay? I sent a package to you recently. Did you receive it? Thank you. Sorry for contacting you late. I've been quite busy. Well, as long as you got it. But Sarah, you sound like you're not doing well. Are you okay over there? Yes, I'm fine. Sorry for making you worry, Mom. Sarah's voice was somewhat faint, almost ghost-like. Come to think of it, I haven't seen her in a while, so I can't confirm her well-being. I became anxious, wondering if she's eating properly or getting enough sleep. As a parent, no matter how old you are, you worry about your children, even if they are married and have their own family. I think that doesn't change. My late mother worried about me until the very end, so I thought it was normal for me to be concerned. I worry about Sarah to the extent that it's not overprotective or intrusive, but I worry she'll be annoyed. Well, Sarah isn't the type to say such things, so I reached out to her only once in a while. One day, I was going about my regular chores and work just as usual. It was already 8 p.m., and I was thinking about having a cup of tea before heating up the bathtub. That's when the doorbell rang. I wondered who it could be at this hour, and when I opened the door, it was Sarah. She looked more worn out than the last time I saw her. Her hair was a mess, her cheeks were gaunt, and her wrist, visible from her sweater, had become very thin like withered branches. I panicked, wondering why Sarah had ended up like this. Sarah, what happened? Why are you here at this time, and what's with your look? Actually, I haven't been able to buy a single piece of clothing. What? Really? All the money I saved up from the time I was single and even my full earnings from my current part-time job gets taken away, so I can't buy clothes for myself. And even when I ask my husband, he won't buy them for me. I see, that's why you're wearing such a tattered sweater and coat. They're covered in lint with holes everywhere. Normally, a husband would feel bad seeing his wife dressed like this, but apparently her husband doesn't care. And what do you mean by all of your part-time pay is confiscated? After Sarah got married, she quit her full-time job and started teaching part-time at a tutoring school near her in-laws' place. Seizing her paycheck, that's crossing the line. Also, they told me to keep the budget for groceries under $35. What? That's ridiculous. If I were to go over 35, they threatened to hurt me. I overspent by $5 a day and got yelled at by my husband and mother-in-law. That's terrible. Mom, I have a favor to ask. I want to stay somewhere else tonight. Can you lend me $50 for a motel? I'm sure my husband will calm down by tomorrow, and I just want to stay somewhere else tonight. Honey, you don't need to stay at a motel. What a waste of money, and your face is burning red. You probably got a fever. Yeah, I caught a cold. Why don't you stay here for a while? I can take care of you. Really? Thank you. Sarah's face brightened up. I prepared some warm milk for Sarah and let her use my spare room. I had some pajamas that fit her, so I handed them to her and told her to change. She seemed really worn out from the cold and fell asleep almost immediately after taking some medicine. Well, it's a relief that it's nothing too serious, but why did it have to come down to this? Sarah said she would get in trouble if she didn't keep their monthly grocery expense under $35, but that's impossible. They're not farmers, they can't grow and get their own vegetables and fruits to keep their budget that low. It made me wonder if they had some sense of basic living expenses. With inflation, prices of goods have been rising, and there's no way 35 is enough for Sarah, her husband, and her in-laws. I trembled with rage thinking about their unreasonable demands and the fact that they're confiscating all of Sarah's part-time pay. The next morning, Sarah got up looking sluggish, but her fever seemed to have gone down a bit. I made her see a doctor just in case, but it turned out to be a common cold. I was relieved it wasn't anything serious. Well, at least it's just a cold, not some troublesome disease. Yeah, there's been a flu going around recently too. Why did they start confiscating your part-time pay? I asked, my concern deepening. My mother-in-law keeps insisting that she needs money, Sarah replied. At first, she said she didn't have enough funds for retirement, giving several reasons, but something feels off. Huge boxes are constantly being delivered to our house, and she doesn't show me what's inside. What? I'm starting to suspect that she's buying something suspicious. She told me it's for her retirement, but I think she's lying. That's concerning, I said. I too began to think that Sarah's mother-in-law, Sabrina, must be buying something sketchy. Sarah hadn't seen what was inside these frequently delivered packages, but she said they were definitely suspicious. They arrived in abundance from overseas, so I guess her part-time earnings were being spent on that. Taking Sarah's part-time wages to buy whatever she wanted was truly wicked. What in the world were her in-laws buying in such quantities anyway? I started to feel scared. Then one day, I decided to go out for some tea with my friend. Sarah had recovered from her cold, so she said she was just going to relax at home and read a book. After having tea with my friend, I decided to report my daughter's situation to the police. About 2 hours later, Sarah's in-laws showed up. Her husband was away on a business trip abroad, but the expressions on his parents' faces were demonic. Sabrina turned beet red while her father-in-law, Robert, glared at me. "You're the one who reported us to the police, aren't you?" Sabrina accused. "Yes, that's correct. I'm sure Sarah must have secretly looked into the packages and told you about it, right, honey?" Robert said. "That's right. It must be because of this chick that the cops are on to us." "No, my daughter said she didn't look inside. I can't believe that. I'm sure she's trying to set us up." What a wicked daughter-in-law, being nasty and disrespecting her in-laws. That's right. A daughter-in-law should value her in-laws, and yet this woman just ran out of the house and even ignored our calls. There's no point hiding here. But I had no idea what my husband would do to me if I didn't run away. What? You're blaming our son now? It's your fault for overspending on groceries. Stop with the excuses. That's right, shut up now. Just how many times do we have to tell you that we only have light meals to keep it healthy? So $35 for groceries should be enough. Light meals? Yes, exactly. Light meals are the best for us humans. Eating luxurious meals can lead to gout or lifestyle diseases, which is why our model is to have light and simple meals only. So $35 is indeed enough for groceries. Well, because of all that nonsense, my daughter has become as thin as a rail. Robert always insisted eating light meals was a shortcut to good health, but when Sarah first came home, she was clearly malnourished. Her shiny hair was now dry, so was her face, and her skin was peeling off. What's worse, she was so skinny that she looked like a skeleton. She might have gained a little weight now, but no one can possibly gain 20 pounds in a month no matter how hard they try. Sure, there might be some who can, but Sarah isn't a big eater, so she probably only gained about 5 pounds max. And yet she's wasting $35 like that. She's such an incompetent daughter-in-law. Have you ever taught her how to manage household expenses? This tells a lot about the way you raised her. Oh, look who's talking. What did you say? All that talk about light meals is just a lie, isn't it? You two have been secretly feasting on good food, haven't you? Ah, well. A friend of mine mentioned that she saw you guys shopping for expensive ingredients at the upscale supermarket, Whole Foods. That's. And apparently, you were also buying quality liquor. Were you hiding it to drink somewhere else? Well, they were clearly taken aback, looking rather flustered. Sweat was trickling down their faces, and they were huffing and puffing as they wiped it off. So what's your point? Reporting us to the police just because we secretly enjoyed good food with our daughter-in-law? Have you lost your mind, Kathy? Ha ha. Exactly. It's not a big deal, right? We also want to spoil ourselves once in a while. We've been eating simple and light meals for so long. Oh, is that so? But I suppose all this luxury is thanks to the money you've made through your sketchy business. What? Don't you guys sell Japanese pharmaceutical products on eBay? Ah, about that. It seems that it's against the site's policy for individuals to sell pharmaceutical products. I don't really use online flea markets much, so I wasn't aware, but isn't that against the Pharmaceutical Affairs Law? Well, so I decided to report it. It seems you were selling stuff like Dream Diet pills. But how do you know? Oh, that friend of mine was almost sold your products. She's a bit chubby, and when she was walking down the street, she ran into you and got asked to try the Dream Diet pills and to buy them from your online store. Oh, in that case, my friend is indeed a bit chubby. She was offended that someone even more overweight would say something like that to her. I continued. Well, Sabrina, you are indeed quite large. So what? What do you mean by large? My body's glamorous, Sabrina shot back, indignant. Glamorous. Also, Robert, you've got a bit of a belly too. You must be eating and drinking some pretty good stuff using our daughter's part-time earnings, despite luxurious produce at the supermarket and profiting off your diet pills. It's all muscles, Robert protested. I've got a hard, tight six-pack, right, dear? Yes, that's right, Sabrina agreed. Robert is definitely not overweight, and I still turn heads because I have a nice body too. She snorted and bragged about being considered good-looking. Wearing a tight mini skirt even in the middle of winter, she didn't wear stockings, and I wondered if her bare legs got cold. At that moment, Sarah spoke up. Well, you use that glamorous body of yours to get guys, right? Ha ha. Ha! The other day, I went to the doctor because I had a cold. There was an OB/GYN next door, and I saw you going in with a young man. Ha ha. Hey, there's a reason for that. Do you mean in your 50s you've had a child with a young man, or did you catch a disease? Oh my, that's not it. Shut up, you? You got that far with some random guy. Are you pregnant or sick? Which is it? I'm sick. What the hell? No wonder I've been feeling off. It's your fault. I'm sorry. I was just with him for fun. It's not my fault the guy just wouldn't leave me. Ha, you seem to be having a great time. You guys even look like a sweet couple, holding hands and going into the hospital. And it was you who was all excited, talking about going to a restaurant and a Ferris wheel afterward. Ha ha. Shush, don't talk anymore. I cannot forgive you for using all my earnings and for eating well outside while reselling the contents of those packages and breaking the law. Terrible. And having an affair is awful too. Ha ha. Sabrina, everything's ruined because of you. Ha. Father-in-law, you were selling stuff out too. I know you guys were being sneaky, staying up at night. No, I was only running a business. I wasn't having an affair. I'm innocent. No, what are you talking about? You've been a criminal since the moment you violated the law. You're far from innocent. My daughter had grown tougher and took a firm stand against them. Sabrina was sobbing uncontrollably, and Robert kept yelling. It was a disaster. Even though we were in our house, they were so loud that our neighbors came out, and it turned into a spectacle. They yelled at me, saying they were embarrassed, but it wasn't my fault. For now, my daughter is planning on divorcing her husband. Given that she was abused, she'll probably sue him for emotional distress and seek compensation. That's right, I will seek compensation from my husband. Also, please return all my part-time earnings that you took. But I said give it back. Don't underestimate me. Did you think I was some slave who would just obey everything? I'm not afraid of you anymore. I don't care what happens. Just give it back. Why, yes, I'm sorry. I was wrong. I apologize. Our usually soft-spoken daughter raised her voice, causing them to hastily bow down in apology. It seemed as if we were bullying them, and I wished my daughter would stop yelling. But I guess it served them right. In the end, they were penalized for their crimes. Later, Sabrina and Robert got divorced. It turned out Sabrina had not only contracted a disease but was also pregnant in her 50s. Even I was taken aback by this. She had to pay alimony to Robert. Since then, Sabrina planned on starting over with her lover but got abandoned by him. Even when I heard this, she meant nothing to me, so I didn't care at all. My daughter also got divorced and received compensation from her ex-husband. My daughter didn't have children yet, so I thought it was good that she was able to divorce before having any. Rumors spread in our neighborhood that my daughter ran away after being mistreated by her husband. The rumor also reached his workplace, and from what I've heard, it became uncomfortable for him to stay there, so he resigned. I don't know what happened to him after that, but he's probably staying with his father, Robert. I am now living with my daughter, but we are not financially struggling. My daughter works as an online tutor, and I have been working from home for a while now, so we make a decent living. My daughter has been putting on some weight and getting healthier. Seeing this, I am truly relieved.